So the Emancipation Proclamation. Let's just get this out of the way right away. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation a month before it went into effect. And in that month before it went into effect, he offered the South a way to come back into the Union while keeping their slaves. It's important to ask why he did this. If you remember his initial goal of preserving the Union, this goes a long way to supporting the idea that he's trying to preserve the Union and he's not trying to just free the slaves. It's also important to note that he did this because he knew the South wouldn't take him up on it. He offered them this window so that because he knew they wouldn't want to rejoin the Union because they left because they were worried he was going to take their slaves away. In January 1st of 1863, he knew that while no slaves had been freed in that month-long window and that no slaves would be freed right away, he knew that this would change the cause of the war to making it about freeing the slaves. He didn't immediately free the slaves upon entering office for a couple of reasons. The first is that he didn't want to lose the border states. The border states had slaves that he was worried that places like Kentucky might leave the Union if he forced the issue. He also knew that the Supreme Court was still lopsided towards a pro-Southern view, so if it worked its way up to the Supreme Court, it would eventually get overturned. So he had to promote this as a military measure, that by freeing the slaves, he was depriving the South of work that would have been done. So essentially, he's taking their property away as a military measure, using their own argument against them that the slaves are merely property. The Emancipation Proclamation changes the war from only about preserving the Union to making it a war about preserving the Union and now freeing the slaves. Because as the Union military goes through the South, any new territory it liberates, the slaves there are freed. And I don't want to pass up this moment to mention that when the slaves heard about this, they began to run away. We call it self-emancipation. So slaves were not just passively waiting for the Union to come save them. They were actively engaging and trying to escape to Union lines. They were committing work slowdowns. They were sabotaging equipment. The slaves themselves had a lot of agency in this, and it's important to recognize that even during the Emancipation Proclamation discussion.